They brought him in from the river. No name, no pulse. But what terrified me most was when he opened his eyes. My name is Dr. Elise Rowan. I was an emergency physician at St. Mary's Regional Medical Center in Burlington, Vermont. I worked the night shift for almost a decade. For most of that time, I thought I had seen everything, every kind of trauma, every possible horror the human body could endure, and sometimes miraculously survive. I loved it. The adrenaline, the rhythm, the strange intimacy of crisis. Working nights meant seeing the quiet unraveling of people's lives, stitched together in fluorescent light. But it also meant solitude, and sometimes, when the world was silent and the hallways were dim, you start to wonder what else might be out there, watching. October 15th, 2022. A cold, wet Saturday night. The kind of night where even the wind sounded tired. Burlington had been blanketed in mist all day, and by 2:30 in the morning the streets were empty. We'd only had a few minor cases so far. A college kid with alcohol poisoning, a woman in her 70s who thought she was having a heart attack, but wasn't, and a construction worker with a deep laceration across his palm. The usual stuff. Predictable. I was catching up on charting, half listening to the low hum of machines, when the page came through. Incoming trauma. ETA, 5 minutes. Possible drowning victim. I felt that shift immediately. The slow pulse of the night accelerating. Trauma Bay 1 lit up, and the nurses prepped everything automatically. Like muscle memory. The paramedics wheeled him in at 2:52 a.m. pale, soaked, hypothermic. But what got my attention wasn't the man's condition. It was what he was missing. No ID, no wallet, no phone. And his clothing, black sweater, jeans, boots, was entirely blank. All the tags, labels, anything that might tell us who he was or where he came from had been removed. Even the soles of his boots were clean, scrubbed, somehow. It was like someone had erased his identity before delivering him to our door. He was unconscious, but breathing. His temperature was dangerously low, 89.2 degrees Fahrenheit. We hooked him up to fluids and warming blankets immediately. I expected to hear crackles in his lungs, typical in drowning cases. Instead, his chest was clear. No water. No aspiration. No bruising. No broken ribs from CPR. No signs of physical trauma that matched his supposed ordeal. And still, he looked wrong. I couldn't explain it, but there was something in my gut that was telling me this wasn't just another hypothermia case. Something was off. The abrasions on his arms and legs looked deliberate, symmetrical, like someone had dragged him through brush, but carefully. Not chaotic injuries, not random, as if whoever or whatever had done this knew exactly what kind of damage they wanted to inflict. His blood work came back flawless. No drugs, no alcohol, no electrolyte imbalances. The CT scan showed a perfectly healthy brain. The chest X-ray was clean. His arterial blood gas was ideal. I've seen dozens of drownings in my career. They don't look like this. They don't act like this. At 4:15 a.m., something happened that I'll never forget. He opened his eyes. They were piercing blue. Too blue. Not like a human eye catching light, but like staring into something that had reflected light long before we discovered it. He didn't blink, didn't flinch, just stared directly at me. Not with confusion or panic, but with recognition. I tried speaking to him. "You're in the emergency room," I said. "You were found unconscious by the Winooski River. Do you remember anything?" No response, just those eyes locked onto mine, tracking every movement I made. I checked his reflexes. Hyperreactive. His grip strength was so strong, I had to ask him to loosen it. His muscle tone was perfect. Too perfect. Not what you'd expect from someone hypothermic and unconscious just hours earlier. His vitals normalized completely by 5 a.m. Temperature 98.6, Blood pressure textbook perfect. If I hadn't seen his condition earlier myself, I would have thought this was a healthy man who walked in voluntarily. I tried a different tactic. I explained everything we knew, hoping he'd offer even the smallest detail. But he just listened. Closely. Too closely. Not the way patients listen. The way you might listen to a wild animal, if it spoke English. And I realized something that chilled me more than his temperature ever had. He wasn't disoriented. He was observing me. His silence wasn't confusion. It was deliberate. He wasn't trying to remember anything. He already knew everything, including things he shouldn't have. When I asked if he could speak or if he simply chose not to, he smirked. Not mockingly, but with a kind of amusement, like a teacher humoring a student who just asked a painfully obvious question. By 5:30 a.m., I called in Dr. Eves for a second opinion. She found the same inconsistencies, perfect vitals, perfect cognition, unexplainable findings. But she dismissed the concern. Maybe he wasn't in the river, she said. Maybe he was just wet from the rain. But I knew better. Something inside me screamed that wasn't it. When I checked in on him one last time before the shift ended, he was sitting upright, awake, composed, as if the last few hours hadn't happened. I asked how he felt. He smiled, slowly, like he had been waiting to be asked. "I'm feeling much better, doctor," he said. Calm, crisp. A voice that felt like it had traveled too far to sound that alive. When I pressed him for his name, he tilted his head slightly and said, "Names are such limiting things, aren't they?" Then he added, "They tie us to histories that aren't always ours." I insisted we contact someone. He declined. Said it wouldn't be necessary. When I told him the police would need to speak to him, he nodded as if he already knew. "I won't be available for that conversation," he said. Then he leaned forward just slightly and asked me a question I've never been able to answer. "Dr. Rowan, how many cases have you encountered that defy medical explanation?" I froze, because I never told him my name. And it wasn't written anywhere. No ID badge, no whiteboard, nothing, yet he knew exactly who I was. He studied me, as I backed away, not threateningly, but like I was a test subject, something he had finished analyzing. I left the room shaken, and when I came back the next day, he was gone. No discharge papers, no AMA form. His biohazard bag with his clothes? Gone. Cameras in the hallway? Malfunctioning. No footage. Nothing. Like he'd never existed. I kept digging, and what I found made it worse. Hospitals across the Northeast had encountered similar cases over the last 5 years. Always men. Always no ID. Always near rivers or remote woods. Always perfect vitals. And always gone by morning. Sometimes the security footage failed. Sometimes staff had strange dreams the night after. One nurse described feeling like she'd been seen in a way that wasn't human. Another, an ICU doctor, resigned the next day, vanished off the grid entirely. Weeks passed. I couldn't sleep. I jumped at shadows. I kept the TV on at night just to drown out the silence. And then one night, about a month later, he came back, 2:23 a.m. Triage nurse called me to the waiting room. "There's a guy asking for you," she said. "Says he doesn't have a medical issue, just wants to thank you." I turned the corner, and there he was. Different clothes, same eyes, same smile. He stood, extended his hand. "Doc Rowan," he said, "I wanted to thank you for your diligence." I couldn't speak. "You looked closer than most," he said. "You asked the right questions." Then he added, "But curiosity comes with weight. You might want to find a quieter kind of medicine, something more predictable." Then he smiled again. "It's better that way." He walked out, and once again, there was no trace. No one else saw him enter. No one else saw him leave. It was as if he only existed when I was looking. I resigned the next week, moved to a rural clinic in New Hampshire. I treat colds, strep throat, the occasional sprained ankle. But sometimes, late at night, I get that feeling. like I'm being watched. And I wonder, did I witness something I wasn't meant to see? Did I survive an encounter I was never meant to remember? Or worse, was I chosen? What would you do if someone walked into your life with no past, no story, no pulse, and left with a piece of your soul? Would you try to understand it? Or would you try to forget? I tried forgetting, and still, I lock my doors twice every night, because I know one thing for sure. He's still out there, and he remembers everything. Thank you all for being a part of these journeys with me. Your continued support truly means the world, and I absolutely enjoy reading your comments, especially when you share your own experiences and reactions. If these tales had you holding your breath or sent a chill down your spine, don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe for more eerie and unsettling stories. Have you ever gone through something similar, or do you have your own mysterious encounter to share? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to read it. Every story you share helps deepen the connection in our growing community of horror lovers. There's more to come, so stay close for more chilling tales. And remember, the most terrifying stories are often the ones that feel a little too real. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.